At their daughter's graduation party, her husband cruelly announced he was leaving her, but when? The backyard glowed under strings of warm, twinkling lights, casting a golden hue over the celebration below. Clusters of friends and family gathered around high-top tables dressed in lavender and cream linens, sipping champagne and sharing stories of how fast Lila had grown. The scent of grilled vegetables and fresh florals filled the air, mixing with laughter and music that drifted from the speakers tucked discreetly under the oak tree. It was a picture-perfect evening, the kind Monica had envisioned for weeks. She stood at the heart of it all, the hostess, the mother, the proud woman behind the scenes. Her soft navy dress fluttered in the breeze, her curls pinned back with the pearl clip Lila had picked out for her last Mother's Day. She held a glass of sparkling water as she chatted with the neighbor's aunt, offering her the name of the caterer with a kind smile. Every detail, from the curated playlist to the personalized photo board chronicling Lila's childhood, bore Monica's touch. This wasn't just a party, it was a culmination of 18 years of love, sacrifices, and memories. Lila was radiant in her ivory jumpsuit, her graduation cap set just right atop her auburn curls. She beamed as she stepped onto the small stage Daniel had set up earlier in the day, one of the few tasks he'd volunteered for. Monica looked up, her chest tight with pride, as their daughter tapped the microphone. "I just want to say," Lila began, her voice wavering with emotion, "thank you to everyone who came today. It means the world. And especially, Mom and Dad. You've been my biggest supporters. Mom, you never missed a recital or a late-night meltdown. Dad, you always told me to aim high. I wouldn't be here without you." A round of applause followed, echoing through the yard. Monica's eyes glistened with tears. She reached for Daniel's hand, but he had already stepped away. He adjusted his collar, cleared his throat, and moved toward the mic Monica, thinking he was about to offer a heartfelt echo of their daughter's gratitude, smiled. But the smile fell quickly. "This is indeed a day for new beginnings," Daniel said, his voice calm, detached, as he looked around at the guests. "And while we celebrate Lila's future, it's time I acknowledge something about mine. Monica, I'm leaving you." Silence. A strange, hollow kind of silence settled like fog. "I've been unhappy for years," he continued. "And I've decided it's time for a change. For me, for all of us. I won't pretend anymore." There were gasps. One of Monica's cousins dropped her wine glass. Monica stood frozen, eyes wide, heart pounding so loudly she could barely hear the rest of his words. Somewhere behind her, Lila screamed, "What the hell, Dad?" Daniel didn't flinch. He stepped down from the stage, buttoned his blazer, and with a nod, walked straight past Monica, past Lila, and out the side gate. All the air left Monica's lungs. Her knees buckled slightly, and she sank into the nearest chair, the laughter and joy of the evening now a distant echo. Her hands trembled as she stared at the string lights above, now flickering like stars mocking her collapse. The party was over. Her world had just shattered in front of everyone she knew. The morning sun filtered softly through gauzy curtains, casting long shadows on the hardwood floor. Monica stirred in bed, the sheets tangled around her legs like seaweed, as if she had fought through waves in her sleep. The silence in the house was deafening. No laughter. No clinking dishes. No sound of Lila playing music or scrolling her phone. Just emptiness. For a moment, she lay perfectly still, hoping it had all been a terrible dream. The lights. The speech. Daniel's voice. The finality in it. But then she sat up, and the weight of it hit her again like a punch to the chest. She wrapped herself in her robe and shuffled down the hall. Lila's bedroom door was closed. Monica raised her hand to knock but let it fall. She heard nothing on the other side. No crying, no rustling, not even the sound of breath. Her daughter, always loud and present, had gone completely silent. In the kitchen, remnants of last night remained. A glittering "Congrats, Grad" banner hung crookedly over the island. Champagne glasses sat abandoned, half full, beside smeared plates and forks stuck in drying cake. She blinked at the remnants like she was looking at someone else's house, someone else's disaster. Then the flashback started. Daniel at the mic. Lila's cry. Gasps from guests. Daniel walking away without a glance back. And Monica, motionless, Voiceless, destroyed. The first ping of a message startled her. Then another. Then her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Text after text. Missed calls. Instagram DMs. Are you okay? I can't believe Daniel did that. I always knew something was off about him. Hey girl, call me back. I have tea about Tessa. Some messages were genuine. Some wrapped concern around thinly veiled curiosity. Others were just gossip-hungry spectators eager to feast on the spectacle. Her inbox felt like a post-mortem dissection of her life. She put the phone down and rubbed her temples. Then she opened her laptop, hesitated, and typed Daniel's name. It only took one click. There, on social media, was the confirmation. A smiling selfie of Daniel and a young brunette Monica vaguely remembered from his office party last year, Tessa. The caption read, "Starting new chapters with this one red heart #, fresh starts #, grateful." Monica's stomach turned. He hadn't just walked out, he had leapt straight into someone else's arms. Someone who looked like she belonged at Lila's party as a guest, not a partner to her father. The door slammed upstairs. Lila appeared in the hallway, eyes swollen, arms crossed. She didn't speak, just stared. "I didn't know," Monica said, voice cracking. Lila didn't respond. "I swear to you, Lila. I had no idea he was going to." "What did you do to him?" Lila snapped. Monica froze. "What?" "He wouldn't just leave if nothing was wrong." "What did you do? Were you controlling? Did you cheat?" "Lila," Monica said, trying to keep calm, "I didn't do anything. He left us. For her. I don't understand," Lila muttered, backing away. "He seemed happy. With both of us. I don't get it." And with that, she stormed back into her room, slamming the door again. That night, Monica sat at the dining table, alone. The house still smelled faintly of roses and barbecue. But it wasn't comforting. It was mocking. Her eyes drifted to the framed photo of the three of them at Disney when Lila was 10. All smiles. All fake now. The next day, while walking through the town square for groceries she didn't need, she heard it, whispers behind her back. She was blindsided. "I heard it was another woman. Honestly, she's always been too proper." She walked faster. Chin up. Eyes forward. Later that week, at the insistence of her sister, Monica booked a session with a therapist. She sat rigid on the small beige couch, clutching a tissue even though she hadn't cried since the party. The therapist, a calm woman with a soft voice named Dr. Rayner, listened without interruption as Monica unloaded everything: her confusion, the betrayal, Lila's anger, the shame. "I feel like I wasn't enough," Monica said, finally letting a tear fall. "I gave him everything. I raised our daughter. I planned a perfect party. I stayed. And he just walked away." Dr. Rayner nodded slowly. "You feel like your identity was tied to being his wife." "It was," Monica whispered. "Then maybe now," the therapist said gently, "is the time to figure out who Monica is without him. Because she existed before Daniel, and she still exists now." Monica left the office with that single idea clanging around her head like an echo in a canyon. Who was she? When had she stopped knowing? The next afternoon, a familiar voice called out while she was in the garden trying to cut back dead hydrangeas, "Monica Andrews, is that really you?" Monica turned to see Elena Torres, her childhood best friend, now standing at the gate, arms open. They hadn't seen each other in nearly a decade. "Elena!" Monica dropped the shears. "What? How?" "I saw the news," Elena said gently. "Well, not the news, but you know how this town is. And I figured, screw it, I'm coming over." Monica smiled for the first time in days. It was small, but real. Over coffee in the kitchen, Elena didn't dance around the topic. "Daniel's a coward," she said flatly. "And that little intern? Classic midlife crisis behavior." "I don't know how to move forward," Monica admitted. "Everything feels scorched." Elena reached across the table and took her hand. "Then rebuild. Burned ground makes the best soil. But you've got to start by planting something for you." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, wind rustled the leaves. Monica thought about the ashes of her former life, and how, maybe, they could become something more. Monica sat cross-legged on the living room floor, a heavy photo album open across her lap. The late afternoon sun poured through the bay window, casting golden squares of light across the aged photographs. Her fingers moved slowly over the glossy pages as if by touching them she might step back into the moments they captured. There they were, her and Daniel, barely out of college, arms wrapped around each other on the beach in Santa Barbara. His boyish smile. Her hopeful eyes. The lightness that used to sit on her shoulders before the weight of compromise pulled her down. She turned the page. Their wedding. Monica in an off-white gown she'd altered herself, her eyes fixed lovingly on Daniel. The dance. The toasts. The plans they whispered to each other between bites of cake. Monica had dreamed of opening her own interior design firm, combining her love for color, mood, and space into something meaningful. Daniel had encouraged it, at first. Then came Lila. And diapers. And two-bedroom rentals turning into starter homes. Somewhere between bottle feedings and preschool tuition, Daniel had started coming home late. Always working. Always tired. Monica's dream became maybe later. Then not now. Then nothing at all. She snapped the album closed and let out a sigh, the weight of her unspoken regrets pressing against her ribs. Later that night, while searching through an old trunk for candles, Monica discovered something she hadn't seen in years, her sketchbook. Leather-bound, frayed at the corners, still dusty from the attic. Her breath caught as she flipped through the pages, renderings of sunlit kitchens, cozy reading nooks, mood boards for imagined clients. Each stroke of pencil and swatch of fabric tape was a memory of the woman she used to be. A woman who designed joy. She sat on the edge of the guest bed, now hers, since she couldn't bear to sleep in the master bedroom, and held the sketchbook close. Something flickered in her chest. A pilot light reigniting. Meanwhile, across town, Lila met up with her friends for coffee. She tried to keep the conversation light, but her friend Ava, whose older sister worked at the same law firm where Daniel and Tessa were employed, leaned in and whispered, "So? I heard something." Lila froze. "What?" "I think your dad and that girl, Tessa, they were already, seeing each other for months. Maybe since before Christmas." "No," Lila said, shaking her head. "That's not possible. He wouldn't do that to us. Not like that." Ava gave a sympathetic shrug. "Just telling you what I heard." Back at Daniel's condo later that week, Lila confronted him directly. "Did you cheat on Mom with Tessa?" Daniel was dressed casually, barefoot, holding a glass of whiskey like he was starring in his own TV drama. He smirked. "Sweetheart, you don't understand adult relationships. Things are complicated." "That's not an answer." "I didn't cheat," he said carefully. "Your mother and I hadn't been happy for a long time. Tessa just reminded me of what passion felt like." Lila's eyes narrowed. "So you were unhappy, and instead of trying to fix it, you replaced her?" Daniel's tone hardened. "Don't take that judgmental tone with me, Lila. You're too young to get it. One day you'll see, it's better to follow your happiness." She stared at him, stunned. "You blew up our family for a fling. Don't be dramatic." Lila walked out, and this time, it was her turn not to look back. Back at home, Monica had started journaling. The therapist had suggested it, and though it felt awkward at first, the act of writing began to free something inside her. Her entries weren't elegant, but they were real. Angry. Sad. Hopeful. Confused. Grieving. One evening, as she sat at the dining table writing about how she hadn't even changed her hair in 15 years, she looked up and saw her reflection in the mirror across the room. The same shoulder-length chestnut brown. The same side part. She stood abruptly, grabbed her keys, and drove to the nearest salon. An hour later, she walked out with soft, layered waves, streaked with caramel. It wasn't revolutionary, but it was a step. The next morning, she moved into the master bedroom. She stripped the bed, packed Daniel's cologne into a box, replaced their framed wedding photo with a watercolor print she bought years ago but never hung. She lit a candle, opened the curtains, and breathed in a space that was finally hers. Walks became a daily ritual. At first, They were simply escapes from the walls. But then she started noticing things again: architecture, garden layouts, charming porch swings. Her old designer's eye was waking up. One evening, over chai on the porch, Elena pulled out her phone and showed Monica a link. "There's a home decor contest online," she said. "Local event. Open submissions. You could totally win." "I'm not ready for that," Monica laughed nervously. "Why not?" "Because I haven't designed anything real in 20 years. Because I'm tired. Because it's silly." "No," Elena said firmly. "You've been designing your whole life, just not for yourself. Submit something. What's the worst that happens?" Monica mulled over it for 2 days. On the third night, she couldn't sleep. She went downstairs, pulled out her sketchbook, and stared at a blank page. Then she began to draw. She imagined a space filled with warmth and intention, natural light, soft neutrals, a reading corner with plush throws and gold sconces, a deep forest green accent wall. She sketched through the night, lost in her own world. By dawn, her hand was cramping, but she smiled for the first time in weeks. The mock-up was ready. Monica took a photo, uploaded it to the contest site, and clicked submit. Her hand hovered over the mouse for a second, as if crossing a threshold. Then she exhaled. It wasn't about the prize. It wasn't even about winning. It was about claiming something, herself. The email arrived just after breakfast. Monica was rinsing her coffee cup when her phone buzzed on the counter. She wiped her hands on a dish towel and picked it up, her heart immediately pounding when she saw the subject line, "Congratulations, you're a finalist." She blinked at it, reread the words, then opened the message. Her submission had been selected for the top 5 in the online home decor contest. The message included a link to a local Instagram page with over 20,000 followers. Her design was going to be featured as part of a voting campaign. Tears welled in her eyes. Not of sadness, but something new. Pride. She called Elena first, who squealed so loudly Monica had to hold the phone away from her ear. Then she texted Lila. "Guess what just happened?" Later that day, Lila came home from a study group and showed Monica the Instagram post already climbing in likes. "Mom, people love it. Look at this comment. So elegant yet cozy, hire her immediately." She scrolled. Another one says, "This woman's style is goals." Monica couldn't stop smiling. It was surreal, watching strangers admire something she had created from her soul. Within a week, Monica received her first direct message from someone asking if she offered interior design services. She hesitated, then remembered her therapist's words, "Fear is just a mile marker on the road to rediscovery." So she replied, offering a free 1-hour consultation. That first consultation turned into another. Then a neighbor reached out. Then Elena referred someone from her book club. Before long, Monica's calendar was dotted with informal home visits, phone calls, and virtual walkthroughs. Lila offered to help her make a website. "I'll handle the Instagram, too," she said one afternoon, curled on the couch with her laptop. "We need a brand name. What about Monica Grace Interiors? You have that signature soft vibe." They giggled like co-conspirators in the living room, a warmth growing between them. Lila began tagging Monica's posts, recording before and after reels, and drafting simple client forms. Their relationship began to heal, thread by thread, woven through trust and purpose. Meanwhile, Daniel's dream scenario was unraveling. Living with Tessa turned out to be more taxing than thrilling. She wasn't interested in meal planning or folding laundry. She hated his jazz playlist and barely tolerated Lila. Their passion burned bright and brief, replaced now with passive-aggressive silences and separate Netflix queues. One evening, after a fight over who left the dishes in the sink, Daniel scrolled through Lila's Instagram and paused on a story. Monica, standing in front of a newly redesigned living room, smiling brightly as the client gushed about her work. He clicked through. Her page was polished. Professional. Popular. He frowned. That weekend, Daniel texted Lila, "Want to get lunch, sweetheart? It's been a while." She responded with a curt, "Maybe. Busy helping Mom." So he tried Monica. "Congrats on the design thing. Cute hobby. Let me know if you need help with accounting or scaling." Business isn't as easy as it looks, winking-faced. Monica stared at the message for a full minute before deleting it without reply. She had no space for sabotage disguised as concern. The next week, Monica completed her most ambitious redesign yet, transforming a cluttered, poorly lit bungalow into a bright, welcoming retreat. She layered textures, painted a bold feature wall, replaced mismatched furniture with cozy neutrals, and added subtle botanical prints. The client, a local writer with a modest following, posted a full video tour on TikTok. It exploded overnight. Monica's phone buzzed non-stop for days. A regional home and lifestyle blog reposted the video. A well-known podcaster reached out asking if Monica would share her story of restarting at 45 with nothing but heart and talent. She agreed nervously and recorded the episode from her bedroom-turned-office. On the podcast, Monica spoke with quiet grace about heartbreak, rebuilding, and rediscovering creativity. She didn't bash Daniel. She didn't play the victim. She just spoke truthfully. "You don't have to lose yourself forever," she said. "Sometimes, the worst thing that happens is what finally brings you home to yourself." The response was overwhelming. Dozens of emails. More inquiries. One woman wrote, "You made me feel seen for the first time in years." Monica sat in her office, surrounded by color palettes and sample boards, and realized she was building more than rooms, she was rebuilding lives. Starting with her own. She invested in herself, slowly and without apology. She bought 2 new outfits, not for a man, not for an occasion, just for her. Comfortable but sharp. She tossed out the old throw pillows that had sat untouched for a decade and picked vibrant ones that matched her new curtains. Even her house began to feel like an extension of her, calm, confident, evolving. Lila walked in one evening holding her laptop. "Mom, we just passed 5,000 followers." Monica smiled. "I guess people like us." "No," Lila said gently, "they admire you." "I admire you." Monica looked at her daughter, tears rising. "I'm sorry you had to go through all this." "I'm not," Lila said. "Because it showed me who you really are. And you're amazing." Outside, summer cicadas buzzed in the dusk, and Monica's heart finally felt still. She was no longer just picking up the pieces of a broken life. She was shaping something entirely new. Something beautiful. Something hers. The knock on Monica's door came just past 10 p.m., jarring in its timing. She opened it to find Daniel standing there, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, his eyes shadowed and tired. "Lila home?" he asked, voice hoarse. Monica crossed her arms gently. "She's asleep. Final start tomorrow." He gave a small, pitiful laugh. "Tessa and I, it's over. She said I have too much baggage. Can you believe that?" Monica said nothing, waiting. "I was thinking," he continued, shifting uncomfortably, "maybe I could stay here for a while. Just until I find a place. For Lila's sake, of course. You know how she needs stability right now." There it was. The lifeline he expected her to throw. But Monica stood tall, backlit by the warm glow of her newly redecorated entryway, the one she designed herself. "No, Daniel. You can't stay here." His face twitched, confusion turning quickly to irritation. "Monica, come on. It's still my house too." "Not for long," she replied softly. "I'd like to meet for coffee tomorrow. Just to talk." She closed the door gently, leaving him alone on the porch. At the cafe, Monica arrived early. She wore a cream-colored blazer and jeans, simple, elegant, confident. When Daniel walked in 10 minutes later, his shoulders hunched and hair slightly unkempt, she stood to greet him with a nod, not a smile. "Thanks for meeting me," he muttered, sitting across from her. "I'll get to the point," she said, sliding a manila folder across the table. "I'm buying you out of the house. My lawyer drew up the paperwork." He blinked. "Excuse me?" "I've been saving, investing what I've earned. With a little help from a smart attorney Elena introduced me to, it's doable. You'll get your equity. You're free to find a place of your own." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You've, what, started playing entrepreneur and now think you can push me out of my own life?" She didn't flinch. "You already left, Daniel. I'm just making it official." He flipped through the documents, disbelief crawling over his features. You were a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. You don't have the kind of money to do this. You didn't know me then, she said calmly. You certainly don't know me now. He was silent. Outside the cafe window, two teenagers laughed over ice cream cones, oblivious to the unraveling of an illusion inside. Monica stirred her tea. I'm not angry anymore. I've outgrown that. But I am done waiting for you to value me. Daniel's shoulders sagged. For the first time, he looked not angry, but lost. Tessa filed an HR complaint. Said I crossed lines. I was fired last week. No severance. My reputation's shot. I'm sorry to hear that, she said genuinely, but without sympathy. He looked up at her, suddenly vulnerable. I thought, you'd always need me. Monica's expression was gentle, but firm. I thought I did too. But you leaving was the best thing that ever happened to me. She slid a pen across the table. You can sign now or take it home. Either way, the process has started. He looked at the pen like it was a sword. Later that evening, Monica and Lila sat on the porch with mugs of hot cocoa, a new tradition they'd adopted on stressful days. Lila hadn't asked what happened at the cafe, she waited for Monica to share on her own terms. Monica finally said, I made him an offer on the house. He'll sign. Lila nodded slowly. Good. I want to stay here, with you. This is home. There was no ceremony to the statement. Just certainty. I saw Dad this week, Lila added quietly. He tried to explain things, blame work stress, Mom. Blame you a little. Monica turned, brows raised slightly. I told him he was full of it. That he walked out on both of us and tried to act like it was noble. Monica reached over and took her hand. He said you were changing. That you were doing all this to prove a point. Monica gave a small laugh. I'm doing it to live. Lila smiled. Exactly what I said. A week later, the documents were signed. Daniel moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. He didn't come around much, and when he did, it was strained. His visits with Lila became shorter, more obligatory. She returned home each time with a mix of relief and sadness. Monica never badmouthed him. She didn't need to. The contrast between who she had become and who he remained spoke for itself. On the morning the final check cleared and Monica became sole owner of the house, she stood in the kitchen, sunlight pouring in through the windows she had chosen herself, and allowed herself a moment to breathe in the freedom. That afternoon, she sent Daniel a message. I wish you peace. I truly do. But thank you for setting me free. There was no response. She didn't need one. Later that night, she updated the About page on her website. Beneath her smiling portrait, she added a new line. Founded by Monica Grace, proof that it's never too late to start over. And she meant every word. 1 year later, the hum of the espresso machine in Monica's redesigned kitchen was no longer just background noise, it was a ritual. The light through the windows caught the soft sage-green walls she'd painted herself, the gold accents she'd once been too timid to try. Now, it was hers. All of it. A fresh bouquet of peonies sat on the counter. Lila had sent them from college with a card that read, For my forever role model. Love you, Mum. The living room was quiet, save for the soft taps of keyboards. Monica now had 2 part-time assistants, Casey and Imran, who helped manage the daily influx of emails, virtual design consults, and media inquiries. Her modest business had grown from a side hustle to a full-fledged interior design brand with clients from Seattle to Savannah. She looked out at the garden, rebuilt, reseeded, reimagined. Where heartbreak once rooted itself, roses now climbed trellises, and laughter lived again. That Saturday, Monica was invited to a graduation party for one of her early clients, Joanna, a single mom of 3 who'd wanted her modest home to feel like a sanctuary. Joanna's daughter, Emma, had just gotten into NYU. Monica had transformed their small patio into a fairy-lit celebration space filled with character and charm. When Monica walked in, a ripple moved through the room. There she is! Joanna called. People clapped as she made her way through the crowd. Not for a title, not for a man she was married to, but for her. The designer. The woman who made spaces feel like hope. She took it in with a humble smile and hugged Joanna tight. "This is your moment," Monica whispered. "Not mine." Joanna laughed through tears. "But you helped make it beautiful." Later that night, as Monica stood by the buffet table sipping lemonade, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and warm brown eyes approached her. He extended a hand. "Andrew Keller," he said. "Architect. Joanna's cousin." Monica smiled and took his hand. "Monica Grace." "I know," he said with a chuckle. "I've been following your Instagram for 6 months. You're the one with the magical before and after transformations." She tilted her head, amused. "You flatter easily." "I'm just a fan of good design and good stories. Yours is both." Their conversation flowed like it had been waiting to happen. He was thoughtful, curious. He asked about her favorite color palette and laughed when she confessed her fear of bold reds. When he mentioned he lived 2 neighborhoods away, she raised a brow. "All this time and we've never bumped into each other," she teased. He grinned. "Maybe we were waiting until the right moment." He didn't ask for her number. He offered his card and said, "No pressure. But I'd love to collaborate, or at least hear more about your story sometime." She kept the card in her purse. Not because she felt she needed someone, but because, finally, she was choosing everything in her life with intention. Later that evening, Monica returned home. She kicked off her heels and walked barefoot into the living room, her sanctuary. Lila's graduation photo still stood on the shelf next to one of them hugging tightly at the design contest celebration. She pulled out her phone, scrolling past business emails and client requests, to find a selfie from earlier at the party, laughing, eyes squinting, life pouring through her smile. She saved it as her new profile photo. A soft montage follows. Monica in overalls, painting the nursery of a single dad client. Monica at her dining table with Casey and Imran, planning a new social campaign. Lila FaceTiming from her dorm, excitedly showing off the gallery wall she styled mom style. Monica and Elena clinking wine glasses on the porch, the moon above them, their laughter echoing over the yard where it all once fell apart. Monica taking a quiet moment at her desk, journaling. We catch a glimpse of her notebook page. It didn't end. It transformed. So did I. She closes the book, gently. The final shot moves through the house slowly, the entryway where Daniel once stood with his duffel bag. The kitchen where Monica had stirred tea while reclaiming her voice. The bedroom, now lined with cozy tones, textures, and sunlight. The garden, lush, alive, vibrant. Then the camera pans up to Monica on the balcony, barefoot, coffee in hand, greeting the new day with a calm smile. The wind lifts her hair slightly as she closes her eyes and breathes in deeply. She is not defined by heartbreak. Not fueled by revenge. Not waiting to be chosen. She is already home. Already whole. Already more than enough. And for the first time in a long time, she is happy. The soft clinking of forks on china quieted as the MC tapped the mic out. Please welcome our final speaker of the afternoon, founder of Graceful Interiors, a mother, a businesswoman, and a survivor of something far too many women face in silence. Monica Grace. Applause swelled as Monica stood from her table, a calm smile on her face. Dressed in an elegant navy jumpsuit with gold accents, she walked to the podium. Lila gave her a small thumbs up from the front row. Elena, seated beside her, whispered, "Show them what power looks like." Monica adjusted the mic and took a breath. Behind her, a projection screen displayed a collage of before and after photos, homes she had transformed, spaces she'd breathed new life into. Her voice, when it came, was steady and warm. "Just over a year ago, I thought my life ended at my daughter's graduation party," she began. "Everything I knew, my marriage, my identity, my confidence, was shattered in front of friends and family, in a backyard I had spent weeks decorating with love." A hush settled across the room. Every woman leaned in. I stood there frozen as the man I built a life with announced he was leaving. No warning. No conversation. Just a mic drop, and then he walked away. She paused, letting the silence sit, heavy but necessary. In the days that followed, I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and wondered how I'd let myself become so invisible. A few nods in the crowd. A tear wiped discreetly. Monica's voice grew stronger. But then something shifted. Maybe it was rage. Maybe it was the refusal to become a cautionary tale. Maybe it was my daughter's disappointment staring me in the face. Whatever it was, it lit a fire. She looked toward Lila, who smiled proudly, mist in her eyes. I found an old sketchbook from my 20s, the one I'd tucked away after giving up my design dreams to be a wife and mother. And I picked up a pencil again. Images flashed behind her, her first digital mock-up, her team, her most viral room redesign. I entered a contest I didn't think I'd win. I started posting designs online. I stayed up late watching tutorials, taught myself again. I said yes to small clients. I rebuilt my life, brick by brick, throw pillow by throw pillow. Soft laughter rose around the room, a welcome release. And now, I stand before you not as a victim, but as a woman who discovered her power in the wreckage. A woman who learned you don't need someone to stay to prove you're worthy. You just need the courage to stay with yourself. Applause thundered through the room. Some women stood. Lila joined them, clapping with pride and awe. As the luncheon ended and people mingled, Monica stepped outside, heels clicking on the pavement. The sun was low, casting a golden glow over the skyline. In her hand, a sleek folder with her name printed on the front in embossed lettering, Monica Grace, founder and creative director, Graceful Interiors. She looked out over the city, the breeze brushing her cheek, and smiled, not because she had it all figured out, but because she finally knew she didn't need to. She walked into the light, shoulders square, future wide open. Full power. Fully herself.